I'd like to put one of these drawings. This was the one yesterday afternoon, the last one I did. Can't remember if I recorded that or not. My missus went for a haircut, so I was on alert to go pick her up. So maybe I didn't record it. But it was in the vein of the previous one that morning, in that it was response driven, and I was trying that. Because I once did one not dissimilar to this with a guy with glasses, and it was frantic when I did it. And at the time, I didn't really understand what was happening. It was kind of one of those, which is kind of what I'm going to talk about now, which is it was just a response. It was pure response. It was. So I did that, and I like to I'll just make sure that it's in focus. It is in focus, I think. As I said, it's lens and manual lens, so I don't really have. If I move things closer, it doesn't stay in focus. Anyway, quick one just before I start. Somebody asked about these bamboo clutches. What it was, you can buy a clutch, but it was just for pencils. But they were they were more or less too wide, and nearly all the charcoal that I use is all varying widths. You see, it's that big fat stuff, and then it's slightly thinner, and then it's really thin, and so I needed some flexibility. And the general size of I like to work with is this almost a centimeter, to hold it. And I've got bamboo canes in the garden that we grow beans in the summer. So, and there's lots of canes hanging around with the beans climbing up. So I just whipped a few of the bamboo stakes, and they all have a different internal, by the way. So this has got a very thin. I probably gouged it. You can't see it, can you? I probably gouged it out to make it, wider inside, and then put 4 slits in it. I think I did it with a hacksaw. Junior hacksaws we have in the UK. This thing. So it's called a junior hacksaw because we are around at school basically. And I cut 4 rather than some of them split. That one's a split one. This one I work with was a split. You can see it's tiny split. But sometimes I do it with a junior hacksaw. And then basically, depending on how far you want to go down, this doesn't go down very far, but as I said, it's quite wide inside, so I can push the charcoal quite far down and put it on the white background, and then put an elastic band around it just to make it tight. And that's about it, really. It just means that I can, when this is done, I'll get another piece of bamboo and make another one. But I can get them the right length. You know what I mean? I think that's probably the other part of it. I'm not too keen on pencils because of their length. They get in the way, and because I early on developed I think this one was done with this piece, the clutch thing, rather than the drawing thing. I because you can point it, you can use the side of it, and basically there's more. The clutch approach to holding this the cradle. It makes it more responsive, basically. So this one piece can do all the larger shapes, the smaller shapes, the intermediate shapes, because of me allowing it to rotate and bounce in between my fingers. And that's probably why you'll see me draw with it like this, and more like a clutch, more like a cradle rather than a pencil. Because when I'm using pencils, I would probably work with it like that. But there's all this bit going on behind me. You know what I mean? It's all kind of getting in the way. It's just a personal thing. I'm not saying that's how you should do it. But somebody asked about the clutch, and that's basically just a piece of bamboo out the garden. Anyway, going back to what I was talking about. So my friend this morning said to me about not drawing for a couple of years, I think he said. And you're probably watching this, Gary. When you get up, because you're in the States and it was early hours of the morning, and I just got up. Anyway, I've not really thought this through, but I'm going to draw this guy. Right, I'm going to go for the response approach rather than the let's draw a nice detailed drawing approach. Although I can't say how it's going to turn out, to be honest. which is part of what I'm talking about, the breathing, you know, it being like breathing. And Gary said to me, he hadn't done it for 2 years, and he was talking about, you know, maintaining the you know, the momentum, if that's the right word. I hate to use these words that all have different meanings, but because at the end of the day, what we do is what we do, and you know, it's personal to us individuals. But the thing what he was saying was about, you know, the sustaining the I think it was we was talking about was sustaining the doing, the motion of doing, as opposed to stopping for 2 years, like you said, and how I keep going. I don't, you know, I think that, and not, this is not a thing, you know, this is not like, you know, people say, oh, you learn all the skills and then you forget. This is Bruce Lee thing, you know, it's sort of martial arts stuff where you're supposed to learn all the techniques and then forget them and revert to natural instinct and all that nonsense, you know. I just think that, although it's just for telly, isn't it? It's all made up for telly, surely. Anyway, but this thing of you know, everything falls into place. Just, you know, it's sort of, you know, you don't have a goal for, just talked about that, and then you don't have a goal for doing this. You're just going to do it, and there's no expectations or goals of how it's going to be done, or as I said just then about this being a responsive thing, or how it's going to turn out. I talked about it being a, you know, a highly finished drawing, but none of that's relevant. You know, equally, it's not going to be like them. You know how they do it. It's not going to meet the standards of other people. You know, all those sort of things. I think all those things were preparation for where I am now. So basically, when I started back doing it, I had to get rid of the idea that it should be like done in a certain way and done to a certain standard. And the first thing I did was I put together a list of all the charcoal drawings that I thought were good, you know, and which was the worst thing I could have done. Fortunately, I lost the file for a while, and it didn't you know, didn't have too much. I didn't do too much damage, and but that was the consequence, I suppose, and the the consequence and the I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. You'll have to forgive me because I'm trying to work it through as a you know, why I keep doing this, and you know, regardless of any kind of objective, you know, sale or whatever. Gary mentioned about will it sell and will people like it and all that. And I just, you know, the first one is easy to eliminate. You know, the will it sell, and the answer to that was okay. You know, I don't really, I'm not doing it to sell it. So that was a big release, if you like, of one of the inhibitors, the obstacles. So all of it, and then the comparison thing as well. You know, because if you're like me, looking at other great work, it's a terrible thing. It's like oh my God, look how good that is. You know, it's sort of. But then I got into this position where or into this mindset that I kind of analyze things now. Why is it good? Why do I think that is good? And 9 times out of 10, it's the old-fashioned reasons that I had before. You know, the skill, the finish, the you know, the technique and the materials and all that sort of thing. I've seen a guy now doing a painting and said, and he quite a famous, I think he's famous in the UK anyway, and he said no drawing was used in this painting. Every mark that he made was drawing. It's just like you know, and that sort of stuff messes with people's heads. And look what you can do with just 2-inch brush. And I look at it and think, oh, wow, that's really good. But at the same time, there's a certain kind of there's a lack of for me in those paintings, a lack of depth. It's all the simulations of photographs. That's all they were. But like I say, I'm a sucker for that kind of show of ability, skill, and it comes from the old me. It's just how I measured people's worth and compared my lack of it, and as I said, I think once I got rid of all those obstacles, the conditioning that I'd gone through, this is good, that's bad, this is good, that's bad, all that sort of stuff, and if you can't do this, good kind of thing. I got rid of all those. I think I got rid of those when, it was the reason why I stopped. Because I was angry. I think that I've said that before, though. I was angry at the fact that I'd stopped for so long, and that it was a mindset thing that had caused me to stop, and brought about by, I think, the industry full stop. Inevitably, when you work as an illustrator, you're going to be comparing what you do all the time. And I was one of, as I said many times, I was one of those a different breed of architects, of illustrators. Maybe I could have been an architect. I once got asked to design some games for at theme park rides. But I was only interested in the prettiness of them. I wasn't really the practicality of whether or not people would fall off or stop or no. It didn't really concern me. But yeah, it was it was part and parcel of being an illustrator, the comparison thing, and being as good as thing. People got paid. Why don't I get paid? All that kind of stuff. And because I had to get paid. Although it was, as I said before, it was only a moonlight sort of situation. I didn't really do it full time. I was a designer full time, and that paid the bills. But so I got that mindset anyway. The comparative stuff, the self-comparison thing, or the comparison with others thing, and it was a curse. So I got rid of it because of the 30 years. It went, and when I came back, there was no real reason why I should compare what I do with others. So getting rid of that was probably the best idea. And I think the other thing was the rules thing. I'm terrible with rules. I'm really rules averse. I've got a anti-authority type of thing going on with because I think rules are telling me what to do. Always had that, though. I've always had that. I think it's the reason why it worked as a designer, because one of the things you've got to do is look at things differently. And I think not accepting what people tell you it should be is one of the primary skills. But it was also a bit of a downfall, really, because designers are trend mongers, and I was not a trend monger. I didn't want to follow trends. If that was the typeface that everybody was using, I wanted to use a different typeface, and so on and so forth. So it tended to be a good and a bad thing, having the resistance to authority stuff. But when it came to this, and I wasn't you should draw a circle and follow this method and that method and learn anatomy. That was, for as far as I was concerned, people were telling me what to do. And that I kicked against that, and it was probably the best thing I did. I don't advocate that as the way to do it, because it might suit you to follow the rules, but for me it didn't, and consequently it became just about the selfish desires to just to draw, just to draw faces, and no matter what people said. Because it didn't matter, did it? It doesn't matter what people say. They're just no marks. I mean, I think when I first started and I got this kind of attitude, and people say, "Oh no, you can't do it," and all that. I had sort of second doubts. I had doubts about it and second thoughts about the fact that I was so adamant that this is how it should be done, or this is how I wanted to do it. I had second thoughts about it because of that. But because I'd not done that many, I'd not actually produced the thousands that I've done now. But it didn't. I think the overriding thing was that it didn't really matter what other people thought, and I'm kind of old enough to realise the importance of that way of thinking. I don't think if I'd been younger, then I would have been so resilient to other people's opinions. Now I kind of well, first of all, I am because of my age, or was, and I'm because of my age. But now that I've done so many, I can't, and some of them I'm just so pleased with, shall we say? Probably not for the reason that you think I'm pleased with them, but nevertheless, I'm happy with them, and they brought me joy and all the rest of it. And now my resilience is completely it's bulletproof. No one can tell me that, oh, you're not good enough, or you should have done it another way, or whatever. Because really, I don't care. Most of these people just don't know what they're talking about. So, and they don't look at it in the context. This is the thing about this. I've got this app that I developed because of the feedback thing, and it gives a value to the feedback you get, so you can decide on whether or not it's worth listening to. So I've developed this thing to help students with feedback, and one of the things it does is it asks whether or not these comments are coming from somebody that you admire. I've said this before about you only want, if you want feedback. I'm not the kind of person that wants feedback. I'm quite aware of what I'm doing. Thank you very much. I don't need someone else to illuminate what I see, because they're not looking at it in the way I look at it. But that's the point. So you kind of want, if you want feedback, you want it from somebody who will see the things that you see, and for the same reasons that you see them. You don't want somebody who looks at it in a completely different way. You don't want somebody who looks at it in terms of a production way, because they'll always examine it in terms of its accuracy. And so this thing that drives me, which is born out of this removal expectations and all the things I say, no expectations, and just a simple reason, which is and the real simple reason terms for me, real simple and basic terms for me, is it's just the joy of doing it, and that's good enough. I don't need it to be more complicated than that. But then, I suppose reason and then purpose becomes about, I just need to capture the essence so people can see, the essence of this character, because I see this person in a particular way, and I want people to see that what I see in this person. Which is fundamental, I think, to making portraits. You've got to have that desire, regardless of your technical abilities. You have to capture the essence of someone, because that's basically what it's all about. Other than that, it's just a photograph, isn't it? So if your drive is to create photographic replications, get a camera, because you're not, unless you're David Bailey, right? So, and there aren't many that are, then you're not going to be able to capture the essence and understand what capturing the essence means, and but yeah, if essence isn't at the heart, the soul isn't at the heart of your portraits, then it's just a replication, which is fine, and people do it and they get praise for it, and and as I said before, drawing all the buttons on a shirt really is there shouldn't be praise for that, because I reckon you can get a monkey to do it if they let them practice often. But this desire thing that I've got, which is now completely habitual. Not just the doing, because that's the thing. I think you kind of develop habitual doing, which you see in this. You see in everything that I do. There's lots of the habitual doing stuff. I always make marks in a certain way. I'm doing it with the charcoal bar, with the stick marker now. So sometimes it goes kind of like that. Sometimes it doesn't. Depends on what I'm trying to do at the time. But the habitual motivation, it's just a habit to do it. And like I say, it's like breathing. And I don't kind of think of it as a deliberation. I just get up and do it. And I once saw this guy that get up and draw was his thing. And he did lots. I think he's still Brad somebody. I think he's still doing it. I think he's still knocking him out, obviously, because he's got the same kind of will as I've got, I think. And but it's the first thing I think about when I wake up. It's weird that, isn't it? It's just to draw. I mean, I probably would. I mean, the other part of that is what I'm going to draw, and I probably would like to draw other things, figurative stuff, or I'm not sure about scenes. I'm a bit scarred from the scene thing, because I did paint scenes with people in them, and I don't want to go back there. So all the things that pushed me away from this, I tend to keep away from, for obvious reasons, because I ain't got much time left, and I'm not wasting another 30 years. As I said, I haven't got 30 years left in me, so I'm not gonna waste any more time. So I tend to keep away from things that I remember driving me away, and that includes, I suppose, the comparison thing, being as good as others. But as I said, I'm in that habitual motivation phase, and I'm also in the habitual doing phase. So I do things that skills that I've acquired. The biggest skill I would say that I've acquired is observation. Obviously, this dexterity and the the ability to make particular kinds of marks. Somebody talked about this the other week when I was saying that they were saying about my skill with the charcoal, when I didn't press too hard, I pressed it hard enough, or made it dark in a certain place, all that kind of stuff. I think I've acquired all those things, and but they're all driven by this observation thing. So I see tonal indifferences or imbalances, and I'll fix that. It's the observation. The biggest skill, the habitual skill I've got is observation. Everything else is just, as I say, a manifestation of that observation. But just in terms of why you do it and the motivation to do it, it's a difficult one. If you add up all the things that I've done, the not to meet somebody else's expectation, and not to do it like somebody else, being locked away in this little studio on my own, apart from you, but alone with my thoughts, all those sort of things where there are no external pressures, no external interference, and I don't, there's stuff to do. Obviously, life goes on, but it takes second place to this. So all of those things, I think, culminated in this uncontrolled desire to do it, and as I say, to a point where it is literally like breathing. It is literally like, I have to do this to stay alive, kind of feeling. I'm not saying that literally, but I don't feel that literally, but it does feel as though it's it's a life-sustaining thing. because I've not really thought about it much since Gary mentioned this morning. And I don't know whether or not there is some kind of exercise or mantra, or because I thought about that before, about having a sort of mantra that's people do that self-affirmation stuff. And I thought, well, no, it seems perfectly legitimate to think about it in terms of what we do, to reaffirm our intentions and our purpose and reason. It seems perfectly legitimate to say that. But I'm going to think about it more. I've got a lesson this morning, so I'm going to talk about it some more this morning, about this maintaining or creating or sustaining the doing, the desire to do it. I know you said this, Gary, but I'll mention it about your friend saying that you should do it. I think that's probably one of the reasons why you shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Because your mates are telling you should do it. I think the only person that should tell you to do it is you. And then it's not unless it's a mantra, as I said, but unless but then it's not a telling of. It's just this: I've got to do it. I've got to do it. I'm going to do it. If I don't do this, I'm going to whatever. I'm going to die if I don't do this. But yeah, as I said, it's if it isn't like that, if it isn't that deep desire, I'm not sure how that works with what you do. Because the what controls the what you do? What controls what you do? Is it because, I mean, as an illustrator, I was constantly being told what to do, which is the worst thing. It's the worst thing, that is, to be told what to do, what to draw, and even how to draw it in my case, because I've got that, as I said before, that ability to copy styles. But yeah, that was it. But with this, if you're waiting for someone to tell you to do it, then, and I don't mean literally telling you to do it, but someone to say, right, this is the quality it should be, or this is what sells, or that's all people telling you what to do. I don't think any artist responds well to that kind of situation. I think I remember the guys in the gallery in Harrogate that time I told you about the clowns on the walls, and they were saying about, you should draw this and you should paint this and you should paint the same thing every time, and because that's what people buy, and but these were the same guys that said that because I hadn't gone to a royal college, that my work would be no good. You know what I mean? So there's the kind of people you run away from. These were odd characters. You definitely run away. I'd keep my kids away from them, I'll tell you that. But yeah, it's that one thing. And you know what? I think this, and I'm going to try and unpack this later, but I think this one thing is probably the most important thing. You've got to find what it is that is your reason to do this. It just affects everything. What you do, the subjects you choose, the way you do it, all is determined by your reason. And I think that's probably the most important thing. I don't think it's, that guy that did that thing in the 90s was all about finding your why. I don't think that's the same thing. I think reason and why are two different things. But I can see there will be a close relationship between the two. You could actually say, if you wanted, say my personal opinion on the word why. I thought it was all a bit hypey, all a bit sort of what's that thing that when they have those self-improvement, all that stuff, all that stuff. Yeah, these people are damaged. These people who do the self-improvement thing are damaged already, aren't they? Of course, you don't need to improve on yourself. You just need to love yourself. That's all. But people don't do that. They are. So, I want to be somebody else. This is the problem that we've got. You bring that kind of crap into being an artist, then it's like, double suicide. if that's possible. You kill yourself twice. But no, I'm going to think about it more today, and I might do another video. This one might take, become a video. I'm not sure if it will or not. It's just because I'm still not really, I've not thought enough about it since Gary mentioned it, and he's still in bed, bless him. So I'll catch him later and see if there's something that, because he talked about a new course, and I've been thinking about a new course for a while, and but because I do all these lives and the videos, they kind of absorb any energy that I've got, and putting together a course is the last thing I'm capable of doing. I'm exhausted from doing these, so I don't know whether or not I will put another course together. Although I didn't have much luck with the courses, I still don't. I mean, there's 200 courses on my website. Somebody said to me the other day, "Oh, have you got?" Because it's one of these. You'll have seen this. There's these things on Facebook for this platform called School, and it's just like, and it's like Patreon. It's not. It's just, oh, it's technically better than this. No, it's not, and it's proper hyped at the moment. There are lots of kids on there saying you could be 100 grand a month and all this, and people are falling for it. Anyway, I went on one of those just to see what the crack was, and they said, "Have you got a place to sell your courses?" And I said, "Yeah." And I sent them to him. I said, "There's 200 courses, or 200 courses, lessons, and videos, and nobody buys them. I'll get one or two now and again. That's all." And so I'm not. And then the workshop thing, the 4-week workshop, which I said to you the other day, it was like, there was just one on the last time I did it, so I can't be doing that. There's 4 weeks worth of work, and I get just paid once. I mean, it's not a lot of money. That's the thing. I wouldn't mind if it was like 10 grand or something. These amazing artists that get huge amounts of money for their course. It's fair enough. I could be one of them, but I'm not in their league, so to speak. So I get 150 quid for 4 weeks, which is less than an hourly wage, the minimum hourly wage, I think. So I'm not going to do it just for one. That's what I'm trying to get to. So I'm not going to do those again. So he did say about a course, but I'd like the idea, and I've said this before about this, and this is the thrust of this, I suppose. I like the idea of sorting out the mental side of it, the getting your head straight kind of thing before we start doing this, because everything revolves around that. Everything, the way you make the marks, the way you choose the subjects, everything revolves around the having your mind in the right place, having your head right. So I say I'd like to do that. I'd be interested in whether or not I could put something together that helped people get their head in the right place before they did this. So yeah, as I say, I don't know yet if that's going to happen. Right, I'm going to leave this as it is, because I'm all talked up and I've not really thought it through properly. I think once I've got my thoughts gathered properly, I can do a better video on this. So I love you and leave you, and I'll catch you later. If you want to, on the members, when the lessons are going to be, if you're one of those members, then I'll see you later. Don't forget that you need to cancel your membership, basically, because I want to cancel that. I don't want to carry on doing it because the uptake's so low. It's just a bit too demanding. So I'm going to keep just doing these things, and then not have a membership. I keep getting the thing to promote memberships, by the way, from YouTube, but it's a big con. Whatever I charge, they take half, basically. So it's just a big con from them. And the only people seem to. So one of them said, "This is YouTube for you, right?" They said that YouTube is not made for in-depth, insightful content. It's made for stimulation. There you go. So that's the reason why I don't get the numbers that I should do, because it's not made for me. It's not made for people that do this. It's made for stimulation, which is, a problem for me. I often see these young girl artists, I want to be careful what I say, but these young girl artists that stand all in a particular way, in a particular state of undress in front of the work. And I think Paul asked, I always think it's wrong that they need to do that in order to get the views. And there's some that get 0 views on just showing the work. I mean, and then they stand in front of the camera with a, dressed in a particular way, and all of a sudden they've got loads of views. Now that's not good, is it? You know what I mean? That's just terrible. But unfortunately, it's the way of the world, and I ain't pretty enough. That's the problem. Just stand in front of the camera. And people, I've got me, and there's another. Paul Ingbertson is a great. I don't know what he's a great artist, but he's more than just someone telling you how to draw, because he doesn't really do that. He does it sometimes, but his knowledge of art and and it's just fabulous. And he sits, bless him, and straight at the camera and talks to the camera and touches on real deep stuff because he's knowledgeable about painters and what have you. And I always find him fascinating. So you must watch him. You must watch Paul. And so it sort of works sometimes, and he's got a kind of Father Christmas look about him. So I think people would relate to that. It is, this cuddly old white bearded old man, which is probably not what you'd like me to call him, but it's true. That's how he comes across, and that works. But I'm not really. If that's what's required, to put a face to it in order to make people watch things, then, as I say, YouTube's messed up proper. It's messed up because of all the legacy, people like Mr. Beast that defined a particular genre of video that was popular and consequently warped the algorithm and because the algorithm thought, well, that makes a lot of money, that gets a lot of views. We're going to show more of that stuff. And I always refer to it as dancing cats. That people don't get that as a kind of an analogy of the state of YouTube. But anyway, as I said, don't sign up don't become a member, don't join. I can't take it off because I don't know how it's going to. Suddenly take it over. I don't know how it's going to affect the people that are currently members, but please don't join. It's not something I'm going to carry on doing. So, right, I'll catch you later.